Hello, everybody, and welcome to Nathan on Shuffle and to our new episode here. This is Jana with me.
Hi.
This is the continuation of Jethro Tull month that we've been doing.
Jethro Tull month.
And I decided it'd be fun to do like a discussion about one of their albums in particular. Like let Jana have a first go at it, listen to the full album for the first time, off camera, of course. And then we can discuss it. It's similar to our Classic Albums 101 that we did last year, but we're focusing more on the Classic Prog.
Classic Prog Albums 101.
Right.
we're still workshopping the name of this show, but that might be it.
That's probably it. We always just end up landing on what we originally thought. So, like, we'll come up with some brilliant new idea, and then it's like, no, same as the
Classic
first.
Prog Albums 101. That's good enough.
I had mixed feelings about the reception of Classic Albums 101 last year, but we really like the experience of listening to these full albums, even if it's not on camera. Yeah, we don't do full album reactions on camera because it's just a lot to ask.
I can't do it.
Yeah.
I'm sure you could, but I can't do it. I need to break up my time.
Yeah. So that's why we don't do it on camera necessarily, but we still like the experience and Jana getting to hear a full album when before she usually just listens to like playlists or individual songs. Mm-hmm. So it's kind of a cool, neat experience to share this music with her and get her impressions. So that's why we format it this way. And in tandem with the special shows of the month, I think this is a fun way to introduce someone to this artist for those of you who may not know the artist as well, because I did my beginner's guide to Jethro Tull, and the album we're going to be talking about, which is Aqualung, is actually the album I suggested a new fan to start with. So
a new fan.
We're kind of getting the guinea pig here and seeing if it was actually a good call and seeing her impressions of it as a first listen. So
yeah. Do you think that I'm already talking about the album? Do you think that Aqualung is representative of their sound?
I do think so. I think, to me, it's like their first album that really dialed into the sound that they would become known for,
Okay.
And it's one of their most acclaimed, famous albums, so that was part of the reasoning. But it's not quite as proggy as the albums that are to come, so, which to me is a good introduction, because it's like leaning more in the classic rock vein, which is probably more widely accepted, more maybe normal song structures and things like that. But you get little touches of prog that would, become full bloom in future albums. So I thought that's why I thought of it as a good introduction.
Okay. All right. Sorry, I jumped the gun in talking about
No, that's perfectly cool.
Do you have some history about
We're still kind of like figuring out the format and stuff as we go along. So, as a little bit of background, I don't like to go too deep because I know a lot of people watching probably know the basics of this, but Jethro Tull are a British prog rock band formed in Blackpool, Lancashire in 1967. They kind of started out more as blues rock is what I would call it. Maybe fusing blues rock with a little bit of English folk music and little touches of classical and a little bit of rock going in there. And it gave them this signature sound and progressive rock that I feel like makes them unique. And of course, Ian Anderson is the main front man of the group. He sings and plays the flute and is one of the primary songwriters and has been part of Jethro Tull throughout their history. They're still making new albums now, so they're a long-running band. Yeah.
I think I knew that. Because they just recently had an album come out.
Yeah, last year.
And you redid your rankings.
Yeah, that's true.
You did a video, right?
I did a video.
Yeah, watch his rankings.
So watch my rankings. I slotted in Rock Flute, which is their last year album that they put out. So still active, still making music. They took a few little hiatuses and breaks in the interim in certain periods.
That every now and then.
Yeah, so
you need a vacation.
But this album in particular, Aqualung, is their fourth studio album and is widely regarded as a concept album by many, but that's kind of rejected by the band itself. That's kind of one of the funny little aside stories to this, is that the press and people would talk about this album as a concept album and was regarded as one of these early examples of a concept record. And Ian Anderson kind of didn't like that label. He didn't consider it to be a concept record. And in fact, that's what sparked him to do the next album, Thick as a Brick, which is a satire on concept albums and like kind of making fun of the prog genre a little bit. And funny enough, became one of like the biggest, most important prog concept albums that exists. So
he like opened the paper to read the reviews of his album, and he's like, "It's a concept. What?
Yeah.
No. Oh wait, British. No. Is that British? I don't know. Cut that out."
So that's kind of a funny backstory to the album and how it came out. And there are some thematic elements that run through, but not really considered a concept album, which usually a concept album, it's like a storyline that connects all the way through the album. And this one, there's bits of a theme of like the distinction between religion and God. There's some like religious themes, maybe some criticism of religion, but there's a lot of different elements and songs that don't necessarily tap into that quite so much. So more of a collection of songs, but some of the songs tend to have a similar theme, probably just the mindset of what he was writing at the time period. So that's probably enough of background. The album came out in 1971. I don't think I said the year of it. But yeah, 1971, old album.
Sorry.
But really classic. This was like the beginnings of prog, some of the early prog albums were coming out around a similar time frame. So, so let's get into your kind of overall impressions or what songs stood out to you.
Okay. Well, I think when we first started the channel, we had done Aqualung.
Yeah,
right.
One of the very first reactions we ever did.
Long ago.
Long ago, forever ago.
Can we link to that?
Yeah, we could put a link to that for sure.
Let's link to that.
Of course.
And then I remember at the time, being impressed by the flute. Yeah. Like the flute sound, because that's a very unique sound in like rock music. And then of course I always like pair things up with like movies or shows that I've seen. So of course it was like Anchorman, like like that whole where he plays like jazz flute.
The jazz rock flute.
I don't know, it was weird. But and so when I re-listened this time to the album, I had already heard Aqualung once, and I remembered it, which like I remembered the sound, and so for me, I think that's a good sign that like things stand out to me, that I remember them when I come back to them maybe a year or two later.
Right.
And I really like the rock sound of it, like how it has that first that like that like that's a great little hook, and
right.
and you hear that like throughout the song, and it's just really, really cool. It's a great rock song.
Right.
My impression of the music of the album is there's some songs that I like less, just because I'm not as much of a fan of like that minstrel-y type of softer tone.
More acoustic, folky sound.
I really like I have a place for that, like I have a place for that when I want to listen to it. But generally speaking, I really like the songs with the beat in them, like that are more of a hard rock sound or a classic rock sound. I really love that stuff. And so like the first couple songs, like Aqualung and Cross-Eyed Mary.
Yeah, Cross-Eyed Mary.
And then the one that we were re-listening to this morning,
Locomotive Breath.
Mm-hmm. Fantastic. Loved so much.
Yeah, those are classics. Yay. Those are some of like the big songs from the album that are like hits today, I would say. Especially Locomotive Breath was one of their early singles. I think this album at the time had two major singles, was Locomotive Breath, and Hymn 43 is another kind of rocker that they have on this album. So those were the ones that were popular at first. I think Aqualung, the title track, has become like really iconic and popular over time, and a great staple of like classic rock radio and things like that. And what's interesting about Aqualung, the track, is actually I don't think it features any flute in it, which
it doesn't. We were listening to it this morning, and I'm like, there is no flute in this.
Yeah.
Huh. And then, but then the album, the rest of the album is like full of it.
Yeah, that's true.
Yeah.
It's really interesting.
And that's sorry, I keep cutting you
No,
off.
it's cool.
That's that part about like, you know, how I always revert back to like movies and things like that. And that part in Aqualung, he's playing like that jazz flute and he like shouts Aqualung.
Yeah.
But then when you listen to the song, there is no, it's just interesting.
Yeah, I think
There's no flute.
It's because they're so well known for the flute, you know, and Ian Anderson playing the flute as the front man, that I think people just associate it with that, forgetting that the actual song Aqualung doesn't feature it, you know. So they kind of maybe misremember that a little bit, but
that's probably me at points.
Yeah, but I think that's
okay.
Cool because they don't need the flute to just make a really awesome extended rocking song there, and it opens up the album perfectly. Yeah, it has an iconic riff that just is infectious that you always remember, and I think that's a quality of some of the best rock music. And to me, overall, like I think of this as like their classic rock masterpiece, and I think of Thick as a Brick as like their prog masterpiece, even though there's little touchstones of prog that they're inserting here that would showcase what was to come. I think really the overall factor to me is that this is more in line with like the classic rock music of the early 70s, especially tracks like we're talking about, Aqualung, Cross-Eyed Mary, Hymn 43, Locomotive Breath. But then you get some of the like more proggier tracks, like My God, which is like 7 minutes long and features this like extended flute solo and some like interesting choral stuff in the background while that's going on.
That was really cool. That like it was pretty extended, like flute solo. Were there more than one flute?
I'm not sure about that exactly.
I don't know,
but I think it was mainly focused on like Ian Anderson's flute work.
And then like the drums came in, and it was, I don't know, it was really cool. Just a different, unique sound. And I think while we talked about this morning too, so I'm going to repeat it.
Sure.
I think while there are some types of songs that I like less, like that minstrel sound.
Sure.
We were talking this morning about this album really showcases their wide variety of like what their talent of what they're able to do. Yeah.
And I love albums like that. That's kind of my specialty as a prog fan. I like when bands can showcase a lot of different sides to their sound. They have the acoustic folky stuff going on, like, you know, Mother Goose, and some of these shorter, like 1 minute tracks like Cheap Day Return and Wondering Aloud. But they're also able to really rock in some of these heavier moments, like in Aqualung, like in Hymn 43. You know, they have these really bluesy, cool riffs. And there's even a little bit of like a jazzy style with the flute work, and like the opening to Locomotive Breath is this interesting, like almost ragtime piano kind of bit before it gets into the more rocking nature of the song. So just runs the gamut between a lot of different styles and sounds, and I love it. I love every track is interesting in its own way, and it all works together. To me, the best albums, like, you can pick out the individual songs that you love, but it also works well as a cohesive group of music, and I think this works well that way. And I love the finale also of Wind Up. I think that's another near proggy track with some different sections to it, with some acoustic, maybe softer opening, and then it rocks out for a bit of the track, and then it returns kind of back to that original theme. So really cool overall track list where every track has something to offer to the listener. So really early, good classic in the genre, I would say.
I concur.
Cool. I'm glad you liked it. Even if some of the more softer, more minstrelly, as you call it, tracks didn't quite connect with you as much.
It's a technical term.
But you still found a lot to enjoy overall.
Yes.
Okay.
Yes, absolutely. Great album. It clearly shows like their fantastic musicianship, and really cool.
All right. So I think that tells the story. I think we're good to go. This kind of marks the end of Jethro Tull month. This is the last Jethro Tull themed video that I'll be putting out for this month. So we can kind of wave goodbye to Jethro Tull for now.
Bye. Can I tell you, it took me a way too long time to learn that Jethro Tull was the name of a band and not a guy named Jethro.
Yeah, I think that's a common misconception.
I was confused a long time.
Like, who's Jethro Tull? But it's the band name. It's not a person.
It's all right.
It's like Pink Floyd gets that too. Who's Pink Floyd? Who's that?
Has he been to the doctor about that? Because
But yeah, so really fun month. I really have enjoyed talking about Jethro Tull, and we have an exciting artist to talk about next month. So
yay, Jethro Tull. And next is... Are we announcing that? I don't even know.
Yeah, I guess we can, right?
Do it!
All right, so next month is...
February.
Rush month.
Rush!
We're covering Rush, which I know you were excited to get more into Rush, because that's been one of our favorite bands to cover on the channel. You really like 2112, for example, is one of your favorite reactions we've done.
I think that's my favorite prog song.
Yeah, wow. Hot take.
Hot take.
No, not too hot of a take.
Yeah, that's not too hot.
It's a lot of people's favorite. So yeah, I think it'll be fun to dive deeper into Rush music. I'll be doing album rankings. We'll be doing a big reaction to some really cool tracks. And we'll talk about a classic Rush album. I think Moving Pictures is what I'm imagining we'll be talking about at the end of February. So that should be exciting. Hopefully you guys enjoy the content, and let us know in the comments your thoughts on Aqualung and about Jethro Tull in general and how this month has gone on the channel. We appreciate any feedback, and just thanks for your support, and we will catch you hopefully in future episodes.
Bye.
Bye everybody.
Enjoy the music.
Enjoy the music.